Let's talk about compilations, specifically a brand new one from a new label called Oracion Records. Try Not to Cry. Shout out to Bowie Aguilar 4672 Isaiah. He is a huge fan of this channel and is responsible for most of this video and this new obsession of mine. What exactly are we talking about here? These are the Monster Mike Presents Shades of Sorrow, which is a compilation of rare, and I mean rare, 45s. This is listed as rare Chicano and blue-eyed soul ballads. It's often also referred to as brown-eyed soul or lowrider soul or Souldies or Chicano Soul even. And I plan on making an entire video just about this stuff and more videos about this stuff because like I said, this has become a new obsession of mine. There are tons of new bands, great new bands coming out right now with brand new vinyl. And we're going to talk about them at the end of the video, so stick around also. I also just did a really awesome record roundtable discussion with some friends, and one of them brought up a super rare lowrider 45 from Brooks Records from the Deceptions. So go watch that video after you watch this video, but this is my new obsession. So what exactly is blue-eyed Chicano soul or brown-eyed soul? This is different from the soul music that you're probably used to from like Sam Cooke or Motown or Otis Redding, although it does share a lot of the same roots. The characteristics here are more simple guitar lines, small groups with emphasis on the vocals with longer vowels and more lingering on those notes from the main singer or vocal groups or whatever. And also lots of ballads and slow 6/8 or 12/8 types of feel. Sometimes the guitar is the only note that comes in prominently after some really great vocal lines. Other times it can be a really fuzzy guitar style, or the organ is very prominent a lot too, sometimes just giving a simple background drone to the vocals that are more prominent, but also giving a very 60s feel to it that I really, really like. Now, I'm taken back with how awesome some of this music grooves as well, but also how heartfelt it is, and they often refer to it as haunting, and I think that's a great way to describe a lot of this stuff, especially knowing that like some of this stuff was like just almost completely lost to time, and to hear it with a lot of the reverb that it has, it is very haunting. This is a great book called Chicano Soul that I highly, highly recommend, and I picked up and started reading. This is from Ruben Molina, and this is basically everything that you need to know about this amazing and often overlooked genre. Now, I'm very familiar with pop oldies or doo-wop stuff from the 50s. My dad is a custom car guy, and that's like all he lived and breathed forever, and I was brought up at car shows growing up. For those of you that don't know, there are groups of people in the world that will gather in parking lots, sometimes for days at a time or entire weekends or weeks at a time, just to look at each other's cars. And this was my entire childhood, and it like harkens back to a lot of like 50s culture and doo-wop culture and stuff like that. I mean, seriously, I didn't actually go to the beach until I was 18 years old. I spent most of my time in parking lots looking at cars when I was growing up. But while being there, I was inundated with great music from like Buddy Holly and Elvis, but also Ritchie Valens, who left a pretty big impression on me. And I remember seeing the movie La Bamba when I was very young, and that actually left a pretty big impression on me too. But Ritchie Valens is very big in this entire genre. And as I grew up, I've grown to love a lot of that music too, especially a lot of the New Orleans rhythm and blues stuff. But the ballads would always stick with me, and this stuff is way more ballad driven, and just like the numero stuff, it's like an almost alternate universe of music that you never knew existed. This compilation series is now on its third volume, and this comes from Oracion Records, and prior to any of these, I had never heard of this label before. They're from California, and Monster Mike Umholtz is the guy in charge of the label and the person putting all of this together, and I'm linking to their Bandcamp below if you want to check out more about this label, which you definitely should. All three of the Shades of Sorrow compilations have custom cover artwork done by L. Ohms, which is very cool. And all of them are also released on CDs first. And there are more tracks on the CDs than on the vinyl records, naturally. And hopefully this means that we're going to continue to get more and more of these volumes. Now, these CDs are actually where I started out with this stuff. And similar to stuff like Northern Soul or even Rare Soul from like Numero records and stuff like that, these compilation CDs are godsend. These 45s, as you're going to see here in this video, some of them are so rare and hard to find. And if you do find them, they usually cost a ton of money. So having compilations like this is a great way to learn about this stuff that is extremely hard to find. And it's also great to do this with like reggae stuff too, or any kind of old soul or funk 45 stuff. I'm going to make a video in the future just about the compilations that I have in my collection. So please subscribe so you don't miss that. What's really cool is I got these CDs on eBay, and Volume 1 and Volume 2 here are actually signed by L. Ohms, who is the artist who put this together. So that's really awesome. I don't know if he was actually the one that sold them to me or not, but it'd be really cool if he was. These CDs are not on iTunes either, and I'm not sure about Spotify. Oracion has a Bandcamp, and you can subscribe to it so that you can get all of their stuff digitally if you want to. I don't know if you can even get some of these CDs. They're kind of hard to find at this point. Another great thing about these CDs is there's 25 tracks on volumes 2 and 3, and there's 20 tracks on volume 1. You only get about 12 tracks on the vinyl LPs themselves, so it's really awesome to be able to get all of the tracks that are on here, and we'll talk more about this as we go on. Let's actually start with volume 3, because this just came out recently. I just got this a few weeks ago, and you can still get this. And this might be my favorite of the 3 compilations so far. I got this on 2 different versions. As you're going to see on all of these, I have the black versions and the color variants. This one comes on 2 different color variants. There's a yellow lemon sun color variant, which is listed to have 500 copies. And then this amazing gold splatter, which is limited to 100 copies. And there's only 50 on their site being sold. They do offer these at other places, as we're going to see here later on, but this gold splatter is so nice. I have seen gold like foil versions before, but I've never seen one with a splatter as well, so this is very unique. Now for volume 3, I had the CD for the longest of this before getting the vinyl, so I really fell in love with a lot of these tracks, and I was really hoping that this track would make the cut, and it did. The 3rd track on this record, The Blue Chords, So Far Away, is probably my favorite track on this like entire compilation set so far. The lyrics are so good. I love this song, and I posted this to Instagram. You can go follow me on there, by the way, at Real Pieces of Vinyl. And someone mentioned on there that there are other versions of this track, and I've never actually heard those before, but I actually love this version. The OG is somewhat affordable at around $150 for that 45 alone, so maybe one day I'll make the plunge. But others to check out on this one are Little Kenneth and the Rhythm Makers, Don't Make Me Leave This World of Mine. Another great one is ESP, the Experimental Music Project, Drowning My Tears. And there's some awesome horns on that one. And sometimes you don't actually hear a lot of horn sections in this stuff. So again, this one is out right now. I would definitely go get it. And then after you go get this one, go back to volume 1. Here is volume 1 with the custom artwork again from L. Ohms. And just like in the volume 3, all of these have a back cover which has super rare 45s that these pull from. And I do wish that there was actually like a picture sleeve to go along with these so that we can see more of these 45s. The design and layout on all of these volumes is from John Perry, and the audio mastering is by Felipe Navarro Delgadillo. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Volume 1 came limited to 100 copies on this awesome baby blue edition that I had to get after the fact. This is opaque and like a white swirl vinyl. And you definitely got to check out their Bandcamp. I know I'm pushing it a lot here, but they put up all of these cool little Easter eggs out there. They have a lot of their test pressings for all of these volumes and for a lot of the additional 45s that they put out. They also put out Volume 1 in this rare like it's listed as like a confiscated rare oldies volume, and they put up this whole thing about how it was like confiscated from a house to get it, and it tricked me to go get it because I thought it was actually different than the other volume ones that were out there, but it was really cool. And it is the baby blue vinyl version of volume 1, which is now kind of hard to find to get, but it's really cool that they put them out in these cool little like Easter eggs on their website. Like I mentioned, with all of these, I also have a standard black version as well, and that is still available. And I got my black version from a really cool shop called Old Paint Records from Tucson, Arizona. I had never heard of them before, but they had this when I was looking for it, so they got it to me fast. And I had an issue with my first copy, and then they sent another one away super fast, and they let me keep both of them. So definite shout out to them. Links in the description for Old Paint Records if you want to check them out. They have a lot of really cool, weird, eclectic stuff on there. And like I mentioned too, Oracion does offer the test prints of their 45s and LPs, and I know Isaiah just got one too, so shout out to him for getting one of the cool 45 test pressings. I know that's very awesome. Some of the standout tracks on Volume 1 for me are Looking for a Place from The Spires, which is actually the first track, and it really just sets the stage for this entire series. Portrait of a Fool from the Futuras is another great one with acoustic guitar and organ. I also absolutely love some of the band names. The 101st Cavalry is on here. Their track, I Love You, is absolutely magical, and the 45 for I Love You from the 101st Cavalry is worth over $3,000. The Chapters is another one, Long Island Sound, Overland Express. So here is Volume 2, again another awesome custom artwork by L. Ohms. They offer stickers of this as well, and I showed this to my dad and he immediately identified which car this is, and these covers really capture the feel of these compilations perfectly, I think. Volume 2 came out on a couple of different color variants. There's a Corazon red vinyl. I don't have that one, but Isaiah does, and it is very cool. And he turned me on to this one. This is actually the first one that I got, which is the Galaxy backlit version. And this is one of the sickest pieces of vinyl that I own. This is limited to 100 copies. And they also have the black version. Now, I'm not sure how limited the black versions are, but I would definitely go pick them up if you're interested in this stuff at all. I gotta say too, Monster Mike himself was super helpful on Volume 2. When I ordered Volume 2, my Galaxy backlit version had an issue where the jacket got destroyed in the mail, and he not only replaced it for me, but then sent along a black version as well. So very cool. Not many places would do that for you. There are some awesome standouts on Volume 2. And by the way, all of the music on all of these volumes is amazing. These are just ones that I'm trying to call out here, but The Lonely Souls, Can't Stop Now, the guitar sound on this and the pulsing rhythm of this is one of the sickest tracks that I've ever heard. And it's actually the 23rd track on the CD, so it goes to show you that he doesn't just pull all of the tracks from the first 10 or 11 from the CDs and slap them onto the vinyl. By the way, the OG for that one goes for about $700. I also got this awesome slip mat, and I love their logo, and they have hats with these logos, and I plan on getting one of those as well. I really want to get Monster Mike on the channel for an interview to ask him how exactly he goes about selecting from the CDs to make the cuts of the LPs, and also how he orders the compilations too, because the LPs have different orders on them than the CDs, and so I know there's a flow to all this stuff and there's a thought to it, so I'd love to get him on the channel here sometime, and he has said that he's definitely interested in coming on, so you should definitely subscribe to the channel so that you can see that interview. Plus, according to Mike, he helped These Sacred Souls get started, and there are so many new great groups right now out there, but let me just talk about some of them here. This is Johnny Benavidez, My Echo, My Shadow, and Me, and this is on Timian Records, which is actually a Finland record label, but they do a lot of their distribution through Coal Mine Records and also through Daptone Records. So definitely check out Johnny Benavidez. The Altons is another one. This is their first LP in the meantime, and they actually have a new record that's coming out right now that you can pre-order. I believe it's coming out in December. It's coming out on both Daptone Records and Penrose Records, but the Altons have a bunch of 45s out right now on Penrose. You can check them out. They're very cool. This is Jason Joshua, La Voz de Oro. Definitely check out Jason Joshua. He's got a couple singles on Penrose Records. Again, very awesome stuff. This stuff gets more into the Latin side of things with some more percussion and a little bit more on the funk end, so you'll like this one a lot. This is The Sinceres, Sincerely Yours, and this is on Coal Mine Records. These guys are also amazing, and they have a single also that's out on Penrose Records. This cover is really awesome because it's an homage to this famous cover from The Midnighters, who is another like very famous group in this whole Chicano Souldies scene. This is The Marlowe's Pirak, I believe is how you pronounce the name of the album. I love that all of these groups have "the" in the name. And this is Indonesian soul funk from Surabaya, Indonesia. And this group is on Big Crown Records out of New York. And these guys are really, really awesome. I think recently they were on like Jimmy Kimmel or one of those talk shows, but definitely check out The Marlowe's. This is The Heart Tones, Forever and Ever. And these guys are also on Big Crown Records. And I believe they're from California, but Big Crown Records, again, is out of New York. And these guys are fantastic. Very cool SoulCal Souldies sound here with lots of really good female vocals and guitar work. I talked about these last three records in the Record Roundtable podcast, where we talked about some of these other really rare 45s from Brooks Records and things like that. Another of my favorite groups, this is The Sacred Souls, Got a Story to Tell. This is released on both Daptone Records and Penrose Records. Like the Altons record that's going to be coming out in December, there's different cover versions that came out on both Daptone and Penrose. So definitely go check these guys out. These guys were pretty much one of the groups that kind of started getting me into this stuff. Their first 45 is the first 45 on Penrose Records, so definitely go check them out. And this is another one from Now Again Records, and this is Los Yesterdays. These guys also have a single with Nobody's Clown, but there's a different version of that song on this record. Another fantastic group featuring Gabriel Roland and Victor Benavidez, who are both like big time guys in this scene. And so another awesome new group that you can go check out. So all of these groups that I just mentioned are all out today with new records and touring, and you can go see them live in your town. So go check them out online. All of these labels, Penrose Records, Timian Records, Big Crown Records, Coal Mine Records, Oracion Records, Diamond West Records is another out there, Brewery Town Records, Now Again Records. All of these labels are supporting this music, and you should too. These records and these CDs are really special to me because this is a big part of how I ever started getting into vinyl at all. And most of the stuff that I get into the most about vinyl, that I get jazzed about the most, is this kind of stuff. Super rare 45s, soul and funk and reggae stuff that is just completely lost to time, that isn't the most popular stuff. Like, I love Motown and I love Marvin Gaye and I love Otis Redding and I love those super popular artists, but I could listen to this stuff all day long from Oracion Records, these Shades of Sorrow compilations that just have so many lost songs on them that would just be lost to time if it wasn't for these guys compiling this stuff. So I'm very, very excited to have Volume 3. Like I said, this is one of the coolest looking vinyl records that I've gotten, and I fell in love with some of the songs on here from this CD. And again, finding CDs like this is one of the ways that I ever even started collecting vinyl records. So I'm definitely going to make a video in the future talking about compilations and how compilations really got me into collecting vinyl and really turned me on to a lot of these labels that I listen to today. All of these labels are all some of my favorite record labels that I listen to and support all over the place today. So I highly suggest you go listen to them too. If you're interested in any of these labels, or if you liked any of the stuff in this video, you're probably gonna like some stuff in these other videos too, like this one here, the conversation that we had talking about this kind of record stuff, or other ones on the channel here too. Definitely go check those out. I'm gonna go listen to Shades of Sorrow Volume 3. I will see you on the next one.